Hey, hey, folks, welcome, welcome. Hope you had a getting all that ready and so forth. Come on, get there. All right. All right. That's what happens when you have multiple programs, multiple screens, all that stuff. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're ready for a new Monday, a new week. And sounds like you can see and hear me okay. Yeah, Laura. So, Laura, here's my thinking. Damien, fantastic. And gosh, you're already getting the contributors and comments. I'll mark those in a moment. Here's my thought. I'm going to share something with you real quick. So I went to a conference one time that did a whole bunch of things. But one of the things is it gave us some tools on brainstorming. And one of the tools that it offered was take the problem that you're looking at and move that problem over to another industry. Look at that problem through the lens of another industry. Because that's going to broaden your creativity, broaden your horizons, and things like that. And so for example, if your problem is the kitchen is too small. Well, if you're a factory and the kitchen is too small, what are things you can do? Well, you can build a new kitchen. You can go to another kitchen. You can buy another place, or you can outsource some of the material that you're fabricating in that factory. Or you can have some things pre-assembled somewhere else and then brought into that factory to do. So if you take that idea from a kitchen, my kitchen is too small, what can you do? Well, you can outsource, meaning you can eat out more often. You can have some things prefabricated. So you could go to the store and buy a fully cooked chicken that you can then use in a recipe. You know, so it makes you think of new ways to solve the problem. And the problem I was looking at is, how do I encourage students to be on time for this lecture and to maybe even come early? Well, and to get them jazzed up. Well, when you go to a concert or to a comedian or something like that, or to a show, what do? They have an opening act. The purpose of an opening act is to get people there, to get them in their seats, to get them kind of lubricated a bit and to kind of get them excited so that when the main show comes out, they're ready and there. So you can expect opening acts from me going forward, if I remember to do them and that sort of thing. So, good enough to join the ringmaster in his circus of crime. Actually, we're going to talk about in a future lecture how I actually did kind of do a little bit of, I don't want to say professional, but I tried to live on it for a while. Okay, so right away, folks, I'm going to reset these, but we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've had 5 contributors and at least 5 awesome comments. All right, fantastic. I'll even put in one more. Okay, so good job. We're off to a flying start. So this is what we are going to talk about today. What is a business transaction? And actually, I'm sitting here saying that we're going to talk about what is a business transaction. But the way we're going to start this lecture off right off is I'm going to ask you. I'm not asking you. I'm asking you. What do you think constitutes a business transaction? Okay. Now, I want to remind you, any and all answers really have something to them. So don't sit there and hesitate. Oh, am I right? Am I wrong? Okay. Anything and everything matters. All right. So let's take a few minutes and we're going to play with what constitutes a business transaction. And Mauricio is already on it. So let's give this a try. Okay, this is great. I'm actually going to use the whiteboard. I want to write down kind of some of the key elements that you guys came up with here because your key elements are good. So I'm going to come back up here. So let's talk about this. Exchange of monetary or substantial items. So, and we have purchase and sale. Okay, exchange of goods and services. All right, so let's play with some of the. First of all, exchange. Totally, you're all right. Goods and services. Goods and services. Completely, right? Very good, very good. Trade for goods or services, and exchange between two parts of something they want or need. Okay. You guys are good. All right? This is good. To fulfill, I don't know, is there another L in there? I don't know. Fulfill wants and needs. And that's definitely an N, not an M. Holy smoke. Okay, very good. Let's see, we've got exchange of goods, whether it's physical or information. Okay, remember, goods can be information. Right now, I am exchanging information. You are giving me input. We are engaging in an exchange of something called information and ideas and thoughts. That goes under goods. Very good. Very good. Okay. We have buying inventory. Inventory, yes. Trading goods or services, two or more parties, right? Right. So, yeah, kind of, 2+ parties. Okay, nice, nice. It affects the financial position of someone or something like a business gain or subtraction of money. Okay, I'm going to just put this one for gain. You're right, okay? This was Jack. Yeah, it affects a position, a value proposition, meaning some sort of gain, okay? Very good. And I'm just going to put gain because it should go both ways. I'll show you what I mean. All right. Selling, trading goods to companies. This class is a business transaction. It absolutely is. And then we have a support of Mauricio, what he said. Very good. Okay, so, well, I'm going to review this and I'll move it out and then I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of who's and me what's it's. Okay, I want you to think about this because you touched on all the key points. There is an exchange between two or more parties of goods and services to fulfill wants and needs for the ultimate gain of those people. That is a business transaction. And I'll be honest with you guys. Actually, I'm always going to be honest. But that's actually a pretty darn good definition. That's a really good definition. All right? Okay. So if we were to go one, exchange between two or more parties of goods and services to fulfill wants and needs for the gain of the parties. That is a pretty darn good definition that all of you collectively came up with. By the way, I would like you to recognize that this is a great example of how we are all smarter together than we are individually, because together you came up with that. So, by the way, you guys came up, there were so many awesome comments in there that that's just plain going to go up to 10. Come on, one more. One more. There we go. And contributors, yeah, we hit the 10. We totally hit the 10. We also had a couple of real worlds, and we had some agreeing inside the comments and so forth. And so, yeah, congratulations. That means that what I want you to do is send me a timestamp after class, of course. The timestamp is 10:11. As it says there, email me a timestamp of 10:11, and we're going to take good care of you guys, okay? And that is a business transaction. All right, you see this? That's an egg. I'm going to tell you a story. And actually, with your definition of a business transaction, you're going to get it right away. Not everybody does. You guys will. So, we first moved in. This was 18 years ago. And our neighbors, or actually, it wasn't that long ago. And that doesn't matter. Get to the point, Lon. You know, all right, fine. Get to the point. So we have some neighbors move in. They are the most wonderful people in the world, the Becerras. And Sherilyn Becerra, the mother over there, every once in a while she'd send over her daughter. They have a lot of daughters. They'd send over the oldest. And at the time, the oldest is that big. She was so stinking cute. She still is. Off on a mission right now. And this little girl would come knocking on the door and say, "May we borrow an egg?" The Becerras are so polite. It's like, oh my gosh. It's just like you're the sweetest people and you're so awesome. So this little girl, "May we borrow an egg?" Well, absolutely, you can borrow an egg, right? So we go off and get an egg, give it to this little girl, little Isabel. And that's that. A couple days later, there come a little knock at the door. And Isabel would be standing there with an egg. "We'd like to return it. Here's your egg back." She's paying me back for the egg. Now, first of all, I know borrowing from the neighbor. Can we borrow a cup of sugar? Can we borrow an egg? I get that. I had never, before the Becerras, encountered somebody who paid it back. You don't pay back an egg. Who keeps track of that crap, right? So, this would go on for, every couple weeks. Seriously, every couple, 2-3 weeks. Knock at the door. "May we borrow an egg?" Here's an egg. And then a couple days later, here's your egg back. And then, every month or so, every couple months, there come a knock at the door. "My mother baked these cookies for you to thank you for letting us borrow those eggs." Okay? And they would be the best cookies you've ever had, right? Because they're made with my damn eggs. Of course they're great cookies. All right. So normally what I do now, folks, is I ask, is this a business transaction? Well, now, let's look at your definition. Let's look at your definition, because I like your definition. Are we having an exchange? Yes. We're exchanging eggs, right? Between two or more parties? Yes. Is it to fulfill good? Are we exchanging goods and services? Yes. The goods are eggs, and it's service because I am providing that, and I am like, a repository of eggs, right? Yeah, you totally get it, guys. Is it to fulfill wants and needs? Yes. Is there gain? Yes. Here's my argument. Now, I want to call out quite often when I do this example, people don't see the business transaction, but you guys get it. And so I'm pretty darn psyched about that. So let me kind of talk through it a little bit. What is Cheryl Lynn getting out of it? Well, this is in fact a really sophisticated business transaction. Okay? What's Cheryl Lynn getting? She's getting just-in-time inventory. I need an egg. I need it now. Go over there and get the egg. Just-in-time inventory. All right? A very sophisticated Six Sigma lean inventory process. She also has a reduced need for storage space. Okay? She doesn't need to keep eggs in her refrigerator. She's keeping eggs in my refrigerator. Therefore, she has a reduced need for storage space. She also has reduced investment cost. She doesn't need to buy the eggs right now. She can get eggs when she needs it just in time from another storage facility free of charge. So that frees up her money to invest in other things that she can't get as readily. Now, you might say, it's just a freaking egg lawn. It's not like those things have value. Granted. But you multiply that by 1 million, and that's what corporations do every single day, right? They're constantly trying to figure out how to get inventory at the exact moment they need it. They don't want to store it on site, and they don't want to have to pay for it until the moment they need it. All right, we're going to go into depth on this in these lecture series, but just so you know, this is pretty sophisticated. Okay. That's what Cheryl Lynn gets out of it. What do I get out of it? Well, I get goodwill. It means that I'm a good neighbor. It means that I can be relied upon, and I can probably get a guarantee of reciprocation, which means that there's this unspoken agreement that if I ever need anything, I can just go next door and get it. Right? It's not written down in any contract or anything like that. We're going to come back and talk about that, by the way. But there's this understanding that we have a goodwill relationship in place and that I can probably get just about anything I need from them. In the same way, borrowing it. But then I get an interest payment. What was the interest payment? What was the interest payment? You know what it was. The cookies. Yeah. Alma, Izzy, Scott, you're right. Everybody, you guys are right. The cookies were an interest payment. Because here's the thing. Why do we pay interest? Well, because I have this egg. Actually, my eggs aren't that big. I have this egg, right? I have the use of that egg. But when I lend it out, I no longer have use of that egg. Therefore, I have an opportunity cost. It cost me to lend it out. Well, in order to, when I get it back, I get my egg back, but you did not pay me back for that lost opportunity I had to use it. Ergo, as Andrea and Laura and all the rest of you, Damien said, it's the cookies. I want you to just pause for a moment and think about how sophisticated this business transaction is. and it's just borrowing stuff from a neighbor. Okay. Now, you know what's really cool? You guys did not fall into a trap. Most people fall into a trap. I'm going to show you that trap. None of you said money explicitly. None of you said money. You said financial gain, and we have gain, and there is financial gain of sort, right? But none of you said money is necessarily a part, well, let's get that out of the way, necessarily a part of a business transaction. It is not. We're going to talk about that. Okay? So, let's keep going. Now, we did talk about gain, right? Gain meaning profit. Okay? Now, I just shared something with you. I shared that it doesn't have anything to do with money. Gain does not necessarily mean money. So I want to go ahead and go to our question slide again, and I want you to consider what is profit, what is gain in these business transactions that we've talked about. Okay? Let's play with that idea. Okay, let's come back to these. We're looking at, oh, don't go away. What are you doing? Okay, come along, you. My OBS was pitching a fit on something, and it still is pitching a fit. Oh, I see what's happening. Maybe, no? Well, I hope you can still see and hear me all right, because my system is having issues. All right, you guys really hit on the key points, right? Profit, right? So Mauricio mentioned the profit motive. We're going to go into depth in that in this course. Profit is obtaining more than we originally had, all right? From eggs to cookies, cookies don't grow on trees. I like it. More than we originally had. The difference, and that was Damien. Andrea says difference between the amount earned and the amount spent. Yes, very good. And of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be money, right? Goodwill and so forth can be, boy, I sure wish I knew why my system wasn't working. This is disconcerting. I'm glad you can still see and hear me. That's good. We might have to wing it. Don't worry, there's always a solution. You're never screwed, right? Anything you gain in profit between the exchange of the good or services, right? You know, don't worry, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah, so you're right, okay? There is some increase, and in an exchange, the increase should go both ways. Okay, that's key. In an exchange, the increase should go both ways. All right, let's see. Oh, good, good. Yeah, I agree. Adam had it on the nose there, Andrea. Adrian. There we go, Adrian. Now, I need to figure out why my, oh, that worked there. What about there? Gosh, this is disconcerting. My system is being persnickety. It's not cooperating. So let's see if I hit some buttons. Bear with me a moment if you would, folks. I apologize for this, but nothing seems to be working. We're going to see what we can do about that. Well, you might just have to look at my face for a while as I talk about it instead of having these cool slides and animation. I apologize. All right, so until I can figure out what's going on, and maybe every once in a while I'll mess with the mouse and see what happens. Oh, look at that. That works. Oh, that works. Then why are you not working? How interesting. That works. Okay. Anyway, the PowerPoint isn't. So let's continue on. Okay, so what we have here is a very good definition of a business transaction. Now, the reading that those of you in the class have been exploring, you're kind of like looking at Sumerians and nomads. And you might be saying, first of all, what does this have to do with anything around a business transaction? I doubt it. You're pretty sharp. And you also might be tempted to think that this is a history class. Remember, this is not a history class. What we're doing is we're exploring these ideas back to where they began. So let's take a look for a moment at our Sumerians and nomads, because not only is this a business transaction that they had going on, it was very sophisticated and can still very much be followed today. First, Sumerians, they're stationary, right? They're just staying in one spot. And what happens when you're stationary? I'm still kind of messing with some buttons here to see if anything happens there. Nope. What happens when you're stationary? What do you have lots of? You have lots of mud. You have lots of mud, right? And you can build things. You can build kilns, right? So let's take kilns, for example. What can you do with mud and kilns? You can make pottery. How much pottery do you need as a Sumerian? You don't need a ton of pottery. So everybody has a pot in every kitchen, right? But you still have a lot of mud and a lot of kilns. And to you, because you've already got all the pottery you need, that mud and kiln, it's useless. And so, yeah, now you want to think about trading it, right? Okay, so that's the Sumerians. They're sitting around with all this ugly pottery. Come back to that in a moment. They've got plenty of it. What do they do with the rest? Now you have the nomads. The nomads are nomadic. They're moving around. They're walking about, so on and so forth. And they don't have mud and kilns. You can't put a bunch of mud and kilns on the back of a camel and carry it around with you. And furthermore, they could really use some pottery, because think about this, guys. They're nomadic, which means they can go as far as their camels can go, and wherever there are watering spots and feed spots, right? But what if there's an area that they want to go to that is beyond where any water is? Well, they could carry water if they had some pottery, right? They could build some things that would allow them to carry water, and that would allow them to expand their trade route, all right? So they would really like that pottery. Well, what can they trade? Well, they're nomads. They're traveling all over the frickin' place, and they're carrying all kinds of stuff with them. Mostly small trinket stuff that is easy to carry and transport. So they're carrying shells and rubies or sand and glass, metals, or things like that. And so what they do is they pull into the Sumerians and they say, okay, listen. You see all those pots? We could really use those pots. In exchange, we have this ore that you could refine into metal because you have kilns, baby. You have kilns. You could refine this ore into metal. You could take these shells and grind them up, put them with the glass and create a glaze for the pottery. And now your pottery has more value. So here's the thing. Here's a couple ideas I want you to kind of embrace, right? First of all, both fulfill a need. Both are trading something that has lesser value to them, but greater value to someone else, right? It's not that mud has no value. It's just to the Sumerians, they have plenty of pots. They don't need any more. But those pots have greater value to the nomads. Same thing with the nomads. It's not the shells have no value. It's just they only need so many shells. But these Sumerians, they don't have access to any. That's the first point. The second point is they then take what they got and increase the value of their own product or service as a result. So the Sumerians take all these shells and so forth, grind them up with the glass and so on, and make glass and make a glaze for the pottery. Now the pottery is of greater value. Furthermore, the nomads take this pottery and expand their trade routes. So now that pottery has greater value than just holding water. Both of them are able to get additional value and gain, profit, from the exchange. And what you also see something here, and yes, Adrian, this is totally supply and demand. What you also see here is very first production and distribution. The Sumerians are producing and the nomads are distributing. They're distributing goods and so forth all around the region, both in finished materials as well as raw materials. If they bring in shells that can be used as glaze, they're bringing in raw materials. If they're taking completed pots and taking them to another area to be traded, they're trading in finished goods. And so all of this is going on, and there's no contracts or anything like that. It's just very organic. And yet what we see here is extremely sophisticated. Okay? So that is the first point. And I keep still trying to see if I can get this stuff to work. I think I'll just come here all the way. Okay, so, and I apologize. I got to figure that out. All right. Now they're exchanging all this stuff. There's no money. No money. No money. They're bartering. And you know what bartering is. I'll give you, 2 pots for 3 pounds of shells, right? And you haggle and so on and so forth. I want us to pause for a moment and think, bartering, still done? Now, maybe once in a while on KSL or something. I want you to really think about this. What do you provide of value to get something of value that to you isn't worth so much, but to somebody else it's worth a lot, and vice versa, that does not include money? Now, normally I'd go to my clever little slide that has the music going and so on and so forth. I want to see what you think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to go off camera just like this. This is the nice thing about having a remote, microphone. Where do you engage in value or in barter? Now, normally I'd have music going, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to sing a song to you. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, fish heads, eat them up, yum. I took a fish head out to see a movie, didn't have to pay to get it in. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, eat them up, yum. I know, not only can I juggle, but I can sing. I'm a triple threat. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, so Scott says, I've encouraged, okay. Oh gosh, I want to go up there so bad, I can't see it. Okay, I've encouraged comic book owners, like these things here, right, to barter, right? My time and skills, my sales executive work with, she gives me nothing financially, but does financial guidance, and I provide an extra time to do work. Absolutely, yes. I want to hear Baby Shark now. Gosh, I actually heard Baby Shark for the first time the other day. I kind of like avoided it on purpose because I didn't want to get into it, but I actually listened to it with my wife. Yeah, it gets in your head, right? Very good, very good. And I know there are other comments there. I so apologize. It is bugging the bejesus out of me that my system froze up, but I'm glad we're still going. I have an idea. Here's I told you I maintain that a huge part of the many, many services that you enjoy, you bartered for. I'm thinking specifically of online. You have maybe a Gmail account. You don't pay for your Gmail account. You watch YouTube. Okay, you watch an ad or two, whatever. You don't pay for it. You have Google Docs. You don't pay for Google Docs. You're getting this live stream right now. You're not paying for it, right? But you are paying for these things. You're selling your personal information. So every time you log in or start an account with YouTube or with Google or Yahoo, yeah, Yahoo's still around, or anytime you use Google Maps, free service, it's not a free service, all right? They are collecting your personal information and monetizing it. Now, you know this because all you have to do is search for anything, and lo and behold, that's all you see for a while, right? So, for example, I hung up a couple of my comic books here for this, what are we doing, live stream? And just for grins and giggles, I looked up the value of these comic books. No, I'm not retiring by selling these things. But lo and behold, now whenever I go on Facebook or my feed or YouTube or anything like that, it's feeding me comic book stuff. And it's like, how did you know? Because they're selling my personal information. You also do a lot of work for barter. For example, you've gone out to rate my professor. Rate my professors, and you've read up on me and kind of figured out, okay, do I want to take a class from this guy? You've read up on others, and maybe you've even put some stuff in to rate my professor. You provided them a product. They are selling your review to other students and monetize. They sell advertising and so on and so forth. So you provided them a product that they then monetize with advertising and so forth. But in exchange, you also get it and so on. By the way, some places have whole business models like this. So Ancestry.com is a great example. If you're into genealogy, all the genealogy that you are paying to get access to, other people provided for free. It's great. Okay? So I maintain that just about our whole digital life is a result of bartering. All right? Now, here's the thing. Now we're shifting on to talking about money for a moment. So, all right, we've got business transactions. They're not involving money. And in fact, you don't need money to get a lot of things of value, because I just made the case that you live pretty much your entire life online for very little, if any, money, because you're bartering your personal information. Well, that's good, because money does not exist. Now, normally I have all kinds of examples and I have some quotes from the government and blah, 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 blah. But let me kind of explain. And I don't even have some pieces of paper I can use. Let's do this. Okay. We're going to come over here. Since I don't have my cool animations and PowerPoint and so forth, we're going to go old school. By the way, there's always a solution. Never let a problem get you flustered. You can figure it out. Okay, so here's a dollar bill. Happy guy smiling with no teeth, you know, $1. There's our dollar bill. And do I even have a Post-it note here? I don't. This is a Post-it note. Now, if I were to offer you either $1 or a Post-it note, my guess is that you would accept the dollar. You'd say, give me the dollar, give me the dollar, right? But that doesn't make sense. $1 is just a piece of paper. And in fact, it's pretty lousy as a piece of paper. It's covered in ink, absolutely covered in ink. And it actually doesn't really take ink super well, you're not supposed to write on the things and so on. So it's not, and it's not sticky, you can't stick it up somewhere. A Post-it note though, this bad boy, this is really useful. So it's yellow, so black ink shows up really well on it. You know, the traditional Post-it note is yellow, so black ink shows up really well. It's blank, and it's sticky, so you can stick that bad boy to a wall or to a screen as a reminder to fix your system so you don't have to do this every time. So then why do we take the dollar? Because we, as a community, actually, I'm going to keep this. We as a community have all agreed. I don't remember signing the piece of paper. I don't remember being at the meeting, but we all agreed. We all agreed that that has value. Now, funny thing is, you don't even need the paper. Let me give you another example. I am paid by direct deposit, which means we have Salt Lake Community College here, right? And then we have my bank, all right? And then I also pay a lot of my bills by automated withdrawal, right? So we have my mortgage bank. All right. So we have these three things. We have Slick's Bank, Mortgage Bank, and my bank and mortgage bank. Okay. So Slick pays me. Well, how do they do that? Well, they take a bunch of ones and zeros in a server somewhere, which basically means the position of molecules in a server. They take the position of their molecules in a server and move those molecules over to here, to my bank. And then when I pay something by auto withdrawal, that bank changes the molecules in this server to pay the bill. Where's the money? There is no money. We're just talking about the positions of molecules on server hard drives. There's no money. So, what is it? Well, it's a fiction that we have created to facilitate something really important. Commerce, business exchanges, right? So let's go back to the example of me and Cheryl Lynn, right? And she's wanting to borrow these eggs and so forth. Now, Cheryl Lynn and I, we are neighbors. We are exact neighbors, and so we have a relationship. We know each other. And so when her little girl comes knocking on the door and says, "Can I borrow an egg?" I have a relationship of trust with Cheryl Lynn such that I can go out of my way and let her borrow an egg. But now, if Cheryl Lynn were to simply go 4 blocks farther, 4 blocks farther, and knock on a stranger's door and say, "Can I borrow an egg?" The stranger would be like, yeah, little girl, do I? And it's Isabel who's asking, "Do I know you? Should you be where?" They would be confused, right? There's no relationship there. I don't know who you are. It makes me a little uneasy that a little girl who I don't know and I've never seen in the neighborhood is asking for an egg. Where do you live? Right? It just, yeah, it's awkward. And so here's the thing. Exchanges like this, sophisticated as they are, borrowing and the egg, only work when there is a relationship in place. Furthermore, when value is created with this exchange of eggs, that value only works within those two people, right? Meaning, I can't say to Cheryl Lynn, "Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, you were going to make me some cookies in as a thank you to letting you borrow the eggs. Can you do me a favor and take those cookies to Walmart, give them the cookies, and then get some milk and bring me the milk?" It wouldn't work like that. Furthermore, I can't go to Walmart and say, "Hey, listen, I don't have any money, but my neighbor owes me an egg. So can I take one of your eggs? And then when my neighbor pays that egg back to me, I'll give the egg back to you." The business would be like, no. I understand that maybe you and your neighbor have created this value, this gain, right? You've created this increase of value, but that value is only recognized within that purview, those two people. How do we solve this? We invent money. So what we do is we say, okay, I'll tell you what. We're going to agree that this thing, whether it's a coin, a dollar, or a molecule on a server, we are going to agree that this thing represents value. And that everybody, since we've agreed together, will accept and use this thing as abstraction of value. It is a universally accepted and recognized symbol of an abstract idea, increase of value. Okay? Now, so here's the thing. Money is a beautiful lie, but we want to continue living the lie. Because the moment we go, oh, son of a gun, money really doesn't exist, then the whole system collapses. And there are multiple examples, the most recent of which being Venezuela, where when people lose faith in their currency, the value of the currency evaporates frickin' overnight, which is when you see, hyperinflation. Hyperinflation meaning, a dollar is now worth 1,000th of a dollar. If any of you, let's see, social construct by Adrienne, social constructed, created by the community, like cryptocurrency. Yes, we're going to talk about. The American dollar is no more or less real than a Bitcoin. No more or less real. And by the way, in case you're going to say the American dollar is backed by the gold standard, it is not. It has not been backed by the gold standard since the 1970s. Okay? There is nothing backing the dollar with the exception of faith. So the American dollar is no more or less real than a cryptocurrency, than a Bitcoin. What's the difference? I'll tell you the difference. I can buy just about anything anywhere with a dollar. There are very few things I can buy in very few places with a Bitcoin. Not many places except Bitcoin. So, does that mean, no, Bitcoin's lousy? No, because more and more places may eventually start accepting it, okay? And when that happens, it becomes a viable currency. We're going to talk more about Bitcoin later on, but don't diss it, but don't fall in love with it either. Critical thinking. Okay, they're great for laundering money. Yeah. Actually, Janet Yellen is President Biden's nominee for Secretary of Commerce, or I forget, financial, whatever. And she's smart, and she's really concerned about cryptocurrency because the studies have shown it's used mostly in illicit exchanges. Yeah, it is. Okay, but it works. All right, so what we've got here, and I apologize, I'm going to do some summaries because we don't have the slides to help us. We have a good understanding of what makes a transaction. We understand also that it does not necessarily include money, that it can be done by barter, but that it does create value. And that value either works within the group, or if we adopt a symbol of value and create money, then it can work outside of that group. Now, there's another thing we need as well for it to work outside the group. And that's rules, laws, regulations. Let me explain. In the reading that you guys have been playing with, you've seen something called the Code of Hammurabi. I think that's how it's pronounced, Code of Hammurabi. Who cares about the Code of Hammurabi? Well, actually, it's kind of interesting, but here's the main thing. He is a king who said, I really want to encourage commerce. Commerce is awesome. Buying, selling, trading, creating value. Because when we create value, he gets the value in the form of taxation. Yay! So he really wanted to encourage transaction. But now here's the thing. Remember when we sent Isabel 4 blocks over to borrow an egg? And the person was looking at her through the curtain, kind of going, I don't know who you are, little girl. You need to go home. I'm calling the police, right? It's because there's no relationship there. But we can't have a relationship with everybody, despite what your Facebook followers think. I don't care if you have 1,856 Facebook followers. You can't have a relationship. There's actually been some studies. I cannot cite the study, so we ought to investigate this. So right now, this is just me going blah, blah. But I have heard of studies that show we can only have a good, solid relationship with about 100 to 150 people. After that, it just becomes noise, right? But we want to have business exchanges with a lot more than 150 people. We want to have business exchanges with everyone in the world. But I don't know you. And if I don't know you, I can't trust you. Because there is a certain level of vulnerability necessary for a business transaction to take place. Because remember, I am coming to you from a place of want and need. I need this. And I therefore need to reveal to you what I need, which is revealing some level of vulnerability, right? In the same way, you need to reveal to me what you have in excess of. And if I don't know you and so forth, it's going to be hard to really kind of be open and free. Furthermore, I don't know that if you gyp me, if there's nothing to stop you from, being working in, oh gosh, can't even think right now. Not working in good faith and trying to, gyp me out of something, right? I don't have faith that there's anything I can do about that. So what the Code of Hammurabi did is said, okay, we're going to put in place laws, rules, and regulations. It's kind of the first business law book ever, right? No, you don't want to go off and read it. It's nonsense. But here's the point. Business law today is all about making sure that we have a level playing field, like that's the case. But we strive to have a level playing field so that commerce can flow freely, unimpeded, okay? Code of Hammurabi tried to do that as well. Kind of said, hey, I want you all to know that you're protected, there are laws, there are conditions, and there are consequences if you act in bad faith in an exchange, okay? So those are really the ingredients of what allows a business transaction to go on. And you guys pointed it out. We both have wants. We both have excesses of something. We exchange these things, and in exchanging them, we can build greater value now that we have those wants fulfilled. We create value, and so that we can use this value that we've created in other places, we invent this idea of money and create a symbol of that idea, that abstract idea of value, so that we can trade that symbol back and forth. And furthermore, we feel free in doing this because we have laws, rules, and regulations in place that allow us to feel safe in going about this transaction, right? So that's really where all of this started. And the thing that's amazing to me, folks, is business isn't any different today. What we see the Sumerians and nomads doing, pretty much what we do today. Later on in a future lecture, we're going to talk about how the Vikings, there they are, how the Vikings created multinational corporations, and it's pretty much what Amazon is doing. Business is pretty basic, right? Devil's in the details. Okay, so there we are. That's everything I wanted to go over today. I absolutely apologize that my computer decided to pitch a fit and that I was not able to bring all my resources to bear. I apologize because I also worked hard to bring those resources up, so I kind of feel gypped myself, right? But I'll make sure I figure this out going further. Going on. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to stick around for a moment if this thing will let me, or you can email me. And thank you for being understanding, Adam and Izzy. I truly do appreciate it, and Andrea. So you guys have a fantastic Monday and a fantastic week. We'll talk again on Wednesday. And until then, have a great day. We'll see you later. I'm just going to turn off the camera. My computer won't let me do anything else. We'll see ya.